Okay, so here we are still playing Dresden, and near the end of the first day, really. The Austrians have launched some pretty heavy attack over here, along with the Prussians hitting here, Russians continuing with theirs, and another lighter attack here. The goal, push as far into Dresden as you can get, because this is where the victory points are. They manage to kill units, that's great and everything, but that's really not how you win this. You don't win this game usually by taking by killing things, because it's mainly a pushing fest. Unlike the Allow one, where there's a lot of opportunity to kill stuff, in this one, it just doesn't seem to happen. So how do you actually end up winning this? We looked at this before. The Allies get their points for these three. And then the only other issue that comes about is, do the Allies push it into a third day? And on top of that, there's deaths, but you got to get some significant numbers, and right now, that number is 0. Those things don't count. Alright, onward. Well, for a net result, the Prussian army is demoralized now, and that's kind of a bonus for the Allies. They have a few more heavy units that they're going to be able to bring into play. The Austrians, well, they pushed forward and got the French into kind of a tricky position here where they're going to have to attack. Remember, they have a shift against them when they try to attack now because they're just demoralized. The Russians also pushed in and took this fortress, which again forces the French to try to make attacks, and that may well force the French back deeper and deeper into Dresden. Of course, in a way, you'd kind of rather have these Russian units come forward, but that didn't happen. One thing though, the French have a big pile of troops coming over the next 2 turns, and one of them, those piles, is coming in right now. So the French finish up their attacks. They've pushed the Austrians out. They can't advance though, and that's kind of the ugly part. They can't take the edge of the city back. The old guard was committed and got pushed back. Basically, all they were trying to do was knock Austrian morale down a little bit. I'm not sure why. It's too late in the day, now that we're on the last turn, to really go pursuing out. And with the French army demoralized, they're not really able to do it. We got the new troops coming in, though, and that's kind of a potent addition. Alright, well, on to the last turn of the day. So here we are at Dresden. This is the last turn of the first day, and the Allied part of the turn, the French are going to get their movement. We see Russians beginning to make their way on board, the Prussians moving up. They can't get too oh yeah, they can, these aren't reserves. Yeah, so they're okay there. Actually, I could move all of these reserves. It's just kind of silly of me not to have gotten them kind of closer to the battle. The Austrians are kind of going all out, making an attack here, as well as one here. It's trying to push in deeper. If they can get here and get the 25 points for that, that's a victory, and they'll probably call it as such. I may finish up a second day just to show you what would happen, but as the Allies, my judgment would be if I can take a hex and hold it at the end of a day and win the game at any level, at any day, I'm taking it, because the chance of a victory is really slim in this game, honestly. And we've even got attacks up here. The Russians are throwing themselves in. They can't break themselves. They're not going to get 7 retreats there, which is kind of a pity. But yeah, there's just nothing can be done there. Alright, well, we'll see what these turn out as. Well, mixed views. The Austrians actually managed to push into that hex. That's not a 25-point hex. I thought it was. But what I would have done was cut these off. In the unlikely case where the Prussians won their 1-2 attack. That didn't happen, so now this Austrian force is kind of at risk here. It's fairly large at 24 strength points total. They got driven back here, but they managed to lodge themselves in here. The French are going to have trouble making that attack, but they can completely surround it, and they may be able to destroy the Austrian unit instead of the French unit, which the Austrians were trying to wipe out. The Russians did push in too, though, so I mean there's attacks coming in all directions. The French could be in a lot of trouble if things go badly here, I think. I'm not sure. Let's see what happens, and they got more reinforcements coming either way. And indeed we see the French have positioned themselves to surround the Austrians. They've also launched some pretty serious attacks against the Russian flank here and tried to do what they can here. We'll see what kind of damage they can do. Well, that's the game. As far as I'm concerned, I would be calling it here if I were playing. The Russians managed to win their battles. Basically, the shift against, bad die rolls, etc. The French lost just about everywhere. They were pushed back here. They were pushed back here. This is the key one, 25 victory points for that. As well as here. They lost a couple of units, which means that they have, what, 9? It's 34 points, which is a substantial victory. There's no question to me that the Allies are going to take that. I'm going to play it out, though, because I kind of want to show you, well, what would happen in this case. But the Allies take their choice here. They have won the battle. They have won the Battle of Dresden in a way that I actually don't think I've ever seen before playing this game. I haven't played it all that many times, but maybe a dozen times at most in my life. Still, this is pretty impressive. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. We're going on into the night, and the special night rules take effect, as well. It's also raining. I kind of forgot about these guys, and they're up on the board there. All right, well, I guess we'll keep playing. Well, actually, the decision to keep playing isn't that bad a one necessarily, because the Allies have a 25-point bonus. They don't have to hold this. They've got that. That's forever. They've got that 25 points. Now, they can get it for the other 2 city locations as well, up to a total of 75. But they're in this kind of interesting position. Now, what happens now that it's nighttime here? Well, we already know there's not going to be any combat and you can't move next to the enemy. The big difference here is that you can move away from people. Remember, the rain has some effects as well. Not a lot, but the stream becomes a river. The land graben becomes streams. And does this actually say stream on it? No, it actually says minor river on it, but there's rules for stream in there. That's the only thing that could qualify. And in addition to that, there's the fact that the infantry are cut in half in strength. Now, cutting the infantry in half is really an advantage for the French here. This is why I would call it right here. This is a substantial victory for the Allies, and that is pretty damn good for this game. And here's our position halfway through the night, and we're already seeing why the Allies are in trouble. They fought pretty hard to get this hex. They're going to have to pull out of it. Otherwise, they have to make an attack on all 3 of these hexes on their first turn during the day. That's a painful burden. Everybody's up to normal morale now, but you know that the risk is just so high. Of course, if they win one of those hexes, that's another 25 points, and then if they can kind of hold out for the rest of the day and kind of defend maybe the perimeter of the city to make it harder on the French, they could probably pull the decisive victory with the extra strength points they have here. All these don't count. They counted towards reducing the morale, but these do count with their 9 strength points. All right, second turn of the night, and I've got to try to figure out what to do with my allies here. I'm not sure. Well, if I wasn't gonna stick around and try to make that fight, I would have called the game already. So I am gonna make that push. We may end up quitting this as soon as we see the results of that. I haven't moved my French units yet. I'm trying to find a place for them. I can maybe ooze a few more in, but there's not a lot of the city left for them. I can't move adjacent to any Allied units. Now the Allies are going to make a huge push at the beginning of the next day. We'll see how that works. Not a lot of difference here. The French pushed a few more troops in, but they don't want to give up that room. Now we're at the dawn. We're going to see that massive attack. Alright, I'm launching it everywhere, and You know, some of these are going to be kind of low odds attacks. We'll see what ends up cooking out of them. Okay, well, this game has gotten a lot stranger for me. Not only did the Allies take the victory for the first day, had they taken it, but now they've taken all 3 of those hexes, 75 victory points. They've pushed the French through. How? You know, low odds attacks, whatever. There's still chances on those 1 or 2s. We're talking 1 to 2 attacks. There's still a decent chance of getting a defender retreat. Still a lot of luck ability in this battle. Ooh, I didn't do this battle. I must not have taken care of that one. But the rest of them, you can see the Russians and Austrians pushed forward by doing soak-offs that got retreats. You got a couple French units back here. What are they going to do? They got to fight their way out. These guys are stuck here. These guys pushed their way in so that I got more room to get more French in. I've got to try to wipe out the Allied army here. And that's going to be tough to do. So far, nothing's dead yet, except a couple of French units that got popped. You can see the French morale is pretty much piss poor at this point. And here's the setup for the French attacks, positioning themselves, try to do what they can, but they've got a lot of attacks they gotta make. I don't know how good this is gonna be. Well, mixed results for the French. You see the old guard artillery has made its way all the way out here, but most of the French army got knocked back and repulsed, and the French army is demoralized. Look at all the dead. This is a game, I've seen nothing like this in Dresden yet, and this is not the first time I vided a game where it just went completely against my expectations. Things like La Révolution Française did the same thing. It's opened up a new respect for me for this game. I thought it was a foregone conclusion every time. Now we're going to move into where Clenau's corps is able to start coming in. And let's take a look at what is up with that. Now, we're just going to be making a roll on each Allied turn. And on a 1, it comes in over here on entry hex B. And if he doesn't make it up till turn 13, he comes in at night on turn 17 back here at C. Just never seen anything like this. Maybe I've never been this aggressive with the Allies before. I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've played it. Anyway, pretty exciting so far. Better than I thought it would be. I'm going to load this one off because I think it's pretty interesting what's going on. And we'll keep fighting out this day. Now, the rain is having this huge effect because the cav and the artillery are essentially doubled compared to everything else because of it. Which means you can see kind of spearheading things with these bigger artillery units and stuff. They're able to do a lot more than the other units. Anyway, I'm going to load this up and go to bed. Well, come back to this tomorrow, I guess.